Welcome to Florida Newsmakers, where our special guest is brilliant political strategist for the Republicans, Sally Bradshaw. And Sally, you've been tapped to be part of a national effort to redirect the Republican Party. How big a challenge after the defeat in the presidential race?
Well, look, I think I have to be honest. It's a challenge. We lost. We had a big loss at the national level. There's a lot of work that the party has to do to find a path forward. But I'm appreciative that Chairman Reince Priebus has reached out to a group to ask us to scrub everything from voter files to mechanics to messaging to see where we should go from here and how we can rebuild the party.
Well, the Democrats won among women, among blacks, among Hispanics, among people under 45, among people in big and medium-sized cities. How do you turn that around for the GOP?
I think we have to really look at just how inclusive of a party we're being. And I don't want to prejudice the report by giving you my personal opinion before we actually do the fact-finding. We're going to spend several months meeting with people all over the country, different demographic groups, looking at voter files and lists, talking to state parties, like the party in Florida that were more successful than many other states on turning out votes and building our party. But I think the task is a large one, and it is going to require a real commitment. We'll have to be truthful. We have to be honest, not defensive, but honest about having really maybe hit bottom and where we go from here.
And is hitting bottom defined by it seeming to be such a close race in the final weeks of the presidential race? Was it a big surprise that Obama won by as much as he did?
I don't know that it was a big surprise, and I don't think Obama won by as much as he did. I don't think it was a blowout, but I think clearly what we saw are some cracks in a party that for a long time has really fielded terrific candidates and been in a position to grow. We've got to rebuild, and so the question is how do we best do that? Where do we go from here?
Well, Florida has two men, U.S. Senator Marco Rubio and former Governor Jeb Bush, both highly regarded in national Republican circles. Either one of them would be a great standard bearer for the GOP.
There's no question. I do think a lot of national operatives, a lot of the national party activists can look to Florida to learn. Lessons learned in Florida. A decade ago, 2 decades ago, we were advancing the cause of Hispanics and reaching out and having a bigger tent than you've perhaps seen in other states. And I think the party here has done a good job. It would make sense for the folks nationally to emulate some of the things we've done here.
Well, drilling down on that point, here in Florida, the Republican Party has held a majority in the executive branch and legislative branch into 2 decades now. And that's not the case nationally with this most recent election. What can the GOP then learn from Florida?
I think there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from Florida, but we have to find candidates, we have to recruit candidates that look more like America in order for us to continue to achieve. You know, in Florida, we have 40% of the Hispanic Republican legislators in the nation. They're right here in the Florida legislature. And so we are leading in this area. We have active women elected to the legislature, and we are fielding candidates in every race, from the presidential race to county commission, and people can learn from our efforts here. Looking
ahead to Florida's gubernatorial race in 2014, Governor Rick Scott, halfway through a first term, his numbers are very low, but not that much different than Governor Lawton Chiles, the Democrats, were 20 years ago. He went on to re-election. Lots of folks already saying Governor Scott's going to have a weakened opportunity to win re-election. What are your thoughts about it?
I'm not concerned. We are 2 years out from an election, a re-elect for this governor. At this point in 2010, Charlie Crist was a shoo-in for the U.S. Senate against Marco Rubio, and Bill McCollum was sure to be the Republican nominee for governor, bested later by Rick Scott. So I think you have to have some perspective on the timing of this. And I also think Scott has not been able yet in a campaign context to talk about jobs in the economy. He has a terrific record here. We've seen a huge increase in exports by Florida companies, 17% increase. We sort of lead the nation in that area. We're seeing the unemployment rate, which is already down 3% over Charlie Crist. When he left the office of governor, he had an 11.5% unemployment rate. So there's some great economic indicators that Scott can look to, and that's been his focus.
So the challenge is going to be to take those indicators and make them resonate with an electorate.
There's no question, and again, there's lots of time to do that, so I look forward to it.
If you have any advice for Florida Democrats, how is it that they should view this embrace of Charlie Crist as now a Democrat?
Give advice to Florida Democrats.
Well, as regards Charlie Crist.
I think they need to be very concerned about a candidate who goes whichever way the wind blows. I mean, the fact is, I appreciate that Democrats want to win an election. I understand what it's like to lose an election, but this is a candidate who has no ideological stand. He believes whatever is popular to believe at that particular point in time, and that's a challenge for Democrats who really care about what their party brings to the table.
Well, newsmaker Sally Bradshaw, thank you for joining us on Florida Newsmakers.